always tell when a streak's going to come to an end. You win a couple of games, you probably shouldn't.
There are teams out there that could use that quality of playoff goaltending. All right, Ray, you ready to do this?
Yep, let's go.
Powered by Rev Media in partnership with TSN, it is Season 7 of the Rain Dregs Hockey Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, Tim Hortons. The Tim's Hockey Challenge is back, and it is something else. Check it out in the Tim Hortons app. You have a chance to win daily and monthly prizes for picking players who you think will score. Plus, there's a chance to win a new Hyundai Tucson as part of the grand prize at the end of the year. Hey, Canadians, you can also try and keep a 7-day streak alive and win free coffee or tea for a week. That's 7 straight days. Check it out, timhortons.ca, for a full list of prizes. How are you doing, Ray Ferraro? Everything good?
I'm good. Yeah, everything's good. I've got my streak going with Tim's, another 0 for 3. We'll get to that later on. What is the reverse of getting a 7-day streak? Because I think I might have one going the other way. Not good.
Yeah.
Not good, but I'm grinding away.
You're right. And we'll talk about this later towards the end of the podcast, the Tim's Hockey Challenge, where we bring in our buddy Chris Tanev. But it's also, I'll just say this. It's why you just maintain even keel. You don't ride the highs too high, right? Because I thought I was about to turn a corner again and really put the distance between you, me, and the rest of the group here at the Rain Dregs Hockey Podcast. And then I, too, take it between the eyes on Wednesday night. Well, I guess it was Tuesday night, so that's all right. There's plenty of season left here, right? What's new in your world? Everything good?
No, I've actually had a week off. I've got game tomorrow, game Sunday, game Tuesday, game Thursday.
Yeah.
Games. And then so like you know what it's like when you get a little space of time, you're going to pay for it shortly.
Always.
Yeah. And so, but it's not long to the break. And I think we're all a little bit, kind of have some anticipation of what these last couple of weeks might look like. Is there going to be more deals? Or they're going to be, the injury replacements will start to get named. Jackson Lacombe was just named yesterday to the U.S. team. And there's going to be a few of those, right? Like Sweden's got about 6 guys that they're waiting on. So it's going to be a busy time.
Yeah, it is. And this time of year kind of bugs me, to be fair. And normally it
like
doesn't.
When things bug you.
Yeah, normally it doesn't, because, if we're looking at the March 6th trade deadline, all right, there's plenty of time between now and March 6th. Yeah. But because you've got the Olympic roster freeze, and that's coming February 4th, it does intensify the stuff that is going on, and the managers that are making their calls, and the sense of urgency that goes into some of these calls. But look, I'm not pointing fingers at everyone who has some level of speculation or believe that they've got information. But more and more what happens now on social media is people try and connect dots, right? Well, this injury occurred. I wonder if that player is available. Even though, that player is probably not available. But somebody is sitting there and going, well, I wonder. That makes a lot of sense. Only has 1 year left, or the team is struggling. So let's just launch a name into social media. That happens more and more. And it doesn't bug me to read it. It bugs me when it's a name that you have to check out. And it almost feels like a guy like me, you're burning a favor because you're reaching out to your sources with that club, and you do get the sense in the response that stop bugging me with this stuff. You know better. So you're dragged into the mud, which normally happens. It's happened since Twitter was introduced way back in the day. But now, because of the Olympic roster freeze, we're dealing with it just a little bit earlier than we would. But I think I'll get through. I think I'll manage.
You will. I know you will.
All right. Let's check out some of the headlines. And you've touched on a couple of stories that we do have to dive into here. On the headlines, brought to you by the Canadian Brewhouse. Hockey lives at the Canadian Brewhouse. Catch every game with many game day prizes. They've got beer specials, other drink specials, a whole lot more at the best hockey house in town. Check it out in store at thecanadianbrewhouse.com for the details you need for your local brewhouse. Find out what they're up to this hockey season. So You hinted at injury. Every team has them. And to some degree, if you're a team that's outside the playoff cut line, yeah, you're feeling that urgency, right? You're looking at, what you're dealing with injury wise. You're going, okay, well, that's not going to do. We're going to have to figure this out. And I'm watching the Red Wings game on a Wednesday night. Hell of a hockey game, by the way. Detroit's
Really good.
playing well, and Toronto was fine. Toronto was good. The goalies were excellent. John Gibson and Joseph Woll. But Toronto's blue line is coming apart. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Ray, I would submit, has been Toronto's best and most consistent defender this year. He's been really, really good.
It's been great. Great for them.
So he gets injured in the first period, doesn't come back. The sense is, and we'll learn more, if not today being Thursday as we record, that he's going to miss some time. And apparently Brandon Carlo got dinged up again in that game against Detroit. How serious? I don't know. Maybe he doesn't miss any time. But if he does, and you throw Chris Tanev into the mix, which is already a long-term injury issue for the Maple Leafs, you got a problem here. And probably something that Brad Treliving, whether he wants to or not, is going to have to address. Figure it out. Bring in a Luke Schenn or a piece, just to give you a little bit of depth on the back end.
Well, of course, the issue is that's half of your defense, and that's a critical part of your team. The other part is that to address it, you're going to weaken your organization somewhere else. It's either going to cost you a draft pick, a prospect, or maybe one of your young forwards. I mean, like, you got to pay something, and the cost is probably going to determine what type of return you get, like the cost you're willing to make, because you can't just look around and I see, like, is Dougie Hamilton a fit? Well, he's got a $9 million cap hit,
Yeah.
and like, in theory, sure, he's right-handed, he's big, he would fit. However, you got to pay something, you got to make it fit into your cap. It gets harder and harder too, when you really need one specific position.
Yeah. And then you get into that trade formula. You're right. And what does that look like? Nobody's throwing Brad Treliving a life preserver, right? So is it a player going back because or you believe you're getting these other guys back, so there's cap implications? It's not that easy to make a deal anymore.
The return, I guess the first step always is they need to get some clarity from their doctors, what type of timeline they're looking at. Like, for example, if Ekman-Larsson were to miss a month, well, 3 weeks of it's the Olympics.
Yeah.
So you're probably fine. You can get around that. If it's longer than that, now you get into a problem. And, because at some point he's going to come back and you have to absorb that cap hit back into the roster. And man, the complications of that they're across the league. It's not Toronto, it's everywhere.
Yeah. And then the Olympic conversation, as you alluded to earlier, does come into play, right? And this is where the owners of clubs get a little pissy, because let's just play with the timeline. And we don't know what the timeline is. My sources indicate that he's going to miss some time. Well, we don't know what that means. Is it day to day? Is it week to week? Right. So if you're management or ownership of the Maple Leafs, you don't want to stand in the way of Ekman-Larsson representing his country. I mean, the players pushed for that with reason. This is what they want to do. They fought for it in a new collective bargaining agreement, right? But what if, okay, yeah, I mean, it's probably a 10-day to 2-week thing, maybe 3 weeks on the outside.
Right at the time, right at the start of the games.
Yeah. Then what? As an NHL club, do you go, okay, well, that's great, but that's too close. We need you for our late push, which is to try and get into the NHL playoffs. And we can't afford to have you play for Sweden and either aggravate or make it worse or do something else. I mean, put your management hat on for a moment. How would that conversation go?
Well, there is no conversation really, because if he's cleared, he's going to go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you say your management hat, well, now the hat gets a little tighter. And that's why those guys have headaches all the time. It's
Yeah.
like they're in a I totally get why the teams don't love this, right? We're not talking about your depth players. You're talking about your very best players. They're
Yeah.
gonna they're either missing time now and they're gonna be healthy to go, or somebody's gonna get hurt over there. It always happens. And
Always.
and then you got to deal with that too. And what do they get out of it?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that they feel that they get anything out of it.
Seth Jones, had some type of
Uh,
setback, or at least that's how we read into it. I'm
mm,
told he's out 6 to 8 weeks, which explains why Team USA did what they did. But Pierre LeBrun and Chris Johnson and I were having this back and forth, and to a level of debate, because Canada has taken the position of, well, we're not going to announce our injury replacement guys until the last minute.
mm,
We don't have to.
mm.
Let's take advantage of the timeline between now and getting to Italy. Instead, Billy Guerin and management Team USA said, nope, Jackson Lacombe, you're the guy. Next man up, you're in, because Seth is out. Now, I'm not questioning the addition of Jackson Lacombe. I guess it's pretty obvious, isn't it, that he would have been the next man up, or maybe they feel like he is the complement or the next best to Seth Jones. But it does leave the rest of us going, okay, well, I guess they really don't like Lane Hutson. And, Adam Fox is an injury issue, so that's a little bit different. But were you at all surprised at the timing and how quickly they launched?
Well, what I was surprised at was that they announced somebody. Um, I wasn't thinking anybody was going to get announced for any of these injured guys. Like the Swedes are, I mentioned earlier, they're waiting on about a half a dozen guys. Now these guys are probably close or not to playing, right? Like they're going to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
closer to that deadline. So they're just sitting there and they're not naming anybody. And
yeah,
I think that probably would have been the tack that I would have taken. But um, I guess if you feel, look, I'm going to name Jackson Lacombe on January 20th or February 2nd, what the heck's the difference? Then you just go ahead and name him. But
yeah, yeah.
Hudson and Fox, of course, are the two names that jump out right away.
Yeah, and then I mean, is Lane Hutson just that similar? Not he's not the player that Quinn Hughes is yet. He's not, right? He just, Quinn to me is a different stratosphere. But smallish. Would that have factored into that decision? You already have
Okay,
that in some capacity.
I don't know. Yeah, but I don't know why it would, because if he's like well, I guess is Jackson Lacombe one of your six defensemen?
Yeah,
Like, is he one of your six or is he your seven or eight? And
right.
so if Lane Hutson is your eight, as we're in this discussion, really the only way he's getting in is if Quinn gets hurt.
Yeah,
And then that would be kind of like your safety valve there. But
yeah.
if that's not the case, if they're looking at Lacombe as one of their six, then
Hmm.
he's bigger and that does matter. And as much as as much as we could say it shouldn't matter, it does. It
It does.
it does matter. There like it would be very interesting to watch a defense manage bigger forwards when a third of it is really small.
Yeah.
And so that's really what their debate is. I'm sure they shouldn't have any questions whether Hudson's qualified to play because clearly he is. But
Hmm.
they you look at their strengths, those are obvious, and then you say, okay, so how are we going to defend?
Yeah.
And if the Canadian team's big, that's going to be hard for us to defend. The one thing I think we get away from here, we think it's Canada against the US. There are other teams there.
Yes, there are.
So like it could easily go into something different. Now with the four nations, you know, the Finns were clearly a step behind. Um, Even though they make things really difficult, the Swedes kind of lost their game a little bit and but it's not like Canada and the US waltzed
Yeah.
with easy games that they waltz straight to the final. Like it was not that at all.
No, no. And I'm reminded of Billy Guerin, and what he said when they announced Team USA. And the media obviously was questioning, well, what about this player? What about that player and all that? And he basically said, um, we're not picking an all-star team here. If that were the case, then you wouldn't need a general manager. So, people in Montreal can be disappointed, maybe even borderline outraged that Hutson doesn't get the call, but that's why you have a management group. They have an idea, a vision of how the team needs to play to win gold. That's their vision, and they're putting the pieces of the puzzle together with that in mind. Pretty
I,
obvious.
I I'll add this too, is that I'm almost certain those that critique Lacombe probably haven't seen him play very much.
Yeah,
Plays out
good
in
player.
Anaheim. He plays late at
Yeah,
night. He's a really, really good player. Now, it still doesn't take away the other questions, but it's not like he just found a pair of skates last week and they added him to the team, right? Like he's he's a good player. So
he is.
we'll see how this is all gonna play itself out. But there's still time here that we're gonna be discussing this again. I'm sure we are.
Luke Hughes on long-term injury too. You
Oof.
wonder if that has any impact on Fitzy's job in trying to move Dougie Hamilton. I He says he's not sure. I checked obviously, but Hughes is out 10 games minimum and 24 days. So, if New Jersey is going to try and scratch and claw and do whatever they can to get back in the playoff picture, that's a pretty significant hole. And then you add to that, 10 games isn't that long.
But it
But
won't be 10 games. It'll be the 24 days because of the break, right?
yeah, exactly. Which, yeah, it'll be 24 days. You're right. You're right. But how much of an impact does that have on the decision of moving Dougie Hamilton? I guess you're probably eyeballing March 6th anyway if you're the Devils on Hamilton.
Well, I think you would have to now because Hughes is going to rehab that shoulder um, and hope that he can avoid surgery. That's always the hope with
For
that
sure.
type of injury. And, um, whether it's now or in a month, if they decide he needs surgery, it's not going to,
Mm,
I mean, it will, it will kill his season, but it won't impact next season. So you
yeah.
can wait a month and see how it is. It's probably a smaller chance, I guess, that
Mm,
you can get by without surgery because you're looking at a longer term view with such a younger player. But man, that's Jack had a shoulder, had two of them actually that have popped out, and now Luke has one, and that stinks for them. Like
it does.
it feels like they just are not going to get ahead of it this year. Like that's
Yeah.
what it feels like. Um, they go back to the start of the year. They had a great start. They were
Hmm.
flying, and then Jack got hurt, and the wheels came off,
Yeah.
and they haven't really been able to steady the ship since. Their
Mm.
goaltending has been no good, and then Jake Allen was unreal in Edmonton the other night. But it has not been a strength of theirs so far. They're in Vancouver
Okay.
on Friday. See if Markstrom plays again.
Yeah, I want to shift over to the West because there are teams that we don't often talk about. We're talking about Anaheim now because
Yeah,
Jackson Lacombe was named to Team USA. But I
right.
want to dart around here a little bit with,
Yep.
I'm not going to be disrespectful and call these teams outliers because they're not that. They're very good organizations that deserve some attention. But we'll start with Anaheim. Yeah, they won 5 in a row.
Yep.
How about that shootout win Wednesday night over Colorado? Like
Yep.
Dahlstrom made what 40 saves, 40 saves,
Right.
and Wedgwood made 16. Like that's
Right.
a pretty wide margin of the activity in one end versus the other. So it's just good to see Anaheim kind of. They've had their blips, but they're clearly back on track now.
Well, part of that I think is just they're so young, right? Like they're going to have more wild swings to their season. It makes sense anyway. As the players like Seneca's 19 years old. He's never played like in this league before, and um, you're going to get worn down. Like this break will come at a good time for him, and but he's what a terrific young player he looks like he is. But when Anaheim was out, like they were, I think they were 11-3-1, and Dostal was unreal and had a great start. Then he got hurt, and it's funny, man. You take the one thing when I look at the the younger teams as they're coming along, Dostal appears to be the guy. Like he looks like he's a guy you can hang your hat on. He goes out and they go 2-11-2. Right. And then he comes back and now they've won 5 straight. Pretty easy to draw a connection there. But they're big and they're really talented. They're fast. They're on the right track. And that was a hell of an overtime in
wasn't it?
Before the shootout. That was
shootout,
so
yeah. All right, let's stay in Cali for a moment. I'm intrigued by the San Jose Sharks, and it goes beyond the young talent that they have. When teams like San Jose, and every year for a number of years, there are those teams that just take it in the shins, but inevitably they find a way to get back into being relevant. And San Jose has certainly done that in a special way with the likes of Celebrini and Will Smith and some of the other pieces, the ad of Kiefer Sherwood and whatnot. So I'm not trying to jinx the San Jose Sharks. And full credit to Mike Greer, who's probably going to extend Kiefer Sherwood, but recognizing, okay, this is more than, just a team that's responding off the backs of 2 budding stars and a superstar in Macklin Celebrini. So I'm going to bring in some help. I'm going to get them a little bit of insurance here and insulation, Kiefer Sherwood. So I'm not trying to jinx them by saying they're a playoff team. But if they are a playoff team, Ray, is this a team that maybe could be a playoff X factor, if you know what that means? Just because of everything. If they stay healthy, the talent that they have, the way they play, all of that stuff. Could they, if they qualify, make some noise?
I guess in the first round, you'd go, man, they're like these young kids that fly all over the place. And maybe, Askarov gets hot in the first round and, and they really scare somebody. But chances are they're going to play Colorado in the first round. And, like if they get in, if you're the second wild card, if that's kind of where they are, I guess they could finish third. If they finish third in the division, they'd play Edmonton or Vegas. Like it just feels so far ahead of them to make a splash in a playoff series. Like I'm quite surprised that they're where they are. I think they've had a tremendous year. Ryan Warsofsky has done a really good job. Like last year, man, oh man, they didn't have a chance, right? It just, and they're trying to put all these young players in place. And if you look at their roster, though, their forwards are so far ahead of their defense. And in a playoff series, that would come apart, I think. By the way, for the rebuild or retool people, rebuilds are great if you get the first pick and Macklin Celebrini sitting there, because lots of years there is not a guy like that, and that fast forwards things immensely. He's just an incredible player, to watch.
Yeah, and look, to just bolster that comment a little bit, and again, plenty of time for Shane Wright to develop as an impact player. Played a bit more. They had him with Schwartz, in the Seattle lineup on Wednesday night, but the game before he played less than 10 minutes. So to your point, I mean, there was a ton of talk and speculation right up to the Montreal Canadiens making the pick and going with Yuri Slafkovsky that Shane Wright was going first overall. There's zero guarantee when you're looking at these young pieces and whether or not they're going to be able to pan out. So, but I did want to talk. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's a different world and it's a different timing. And if you're Shane Wright, you're probably lost a little bit. Like you feel lost. And so we'll see what happens with him, as Seattle's going to have to make some decisions too, right? They're right on the cusp of those playoffs as well.
Yeah. both Utah and Seattle. I want you to take us there, because there is these whispers around the league that, Billy Armstrong, the general manager of Utah, he's looking to add. He's looking to add. I mean, those are two pretty good lineups, right? But and deservedly so. They're in the wild card spots that they're in the West. But again, when you're tangling with the likes of Colorado or Dallas or Vegas, these better teams, throw the Oilers into that mix for obvious reasons. You look at those two lineups. How much work does Jason Botterill in Seattle and Armstrong in Utah, do you think, need to get done? What would be good ads for those teams up front, defense, all of the above?
Well, if I'm Utah, I'm more aggressive than Seattle. I just think the way their roster is, the youth, it's not young, it's not it's not inexperienced youth. They're just young guys. They've been in the league before. You know, Schmaltz is coming up to a contract at the end of the year, but the rest of those young guys, like Keller and Gunther, are they're tremendous players, right?
Yeah.
I think they would probably like to add a little bit of size if they could, but size with ability, not just like a big guy floating around there. Nothing in Utah since they moved from Arizona to Utah has been timid. And so I think if there's a potential to add a forward there, they will, or to add some size. I think so. That's for them. For Seattle, I think they still look at it almost the other way. That you've got some veteran pieces, and are you willing to add, or team's going to call you and really give you something that might make you a more forward thinking, as
Right.
opposed to today thinking. And I think that would be the difference in the two teams I would have in the look. Is I think Seattle feels like they're a little more forward thinking, like into the future, as opposed to Utah, which can probably think a little bit more about the now.
We're still trying to define the buyers and the sellers, right? And
Right.
some of it is obvious. It looks like St. Louis is moving into selling mode. No shocker there. I guess the question is, how deep does the knife cut? And there's probably an age sort of line drawn. Okay, anybody above
sure.
23 years of age, we'll take calls on that player. And I'm not going to list all the St. Louis Blues. Essentially, we know who they are. I look at LA being a buyer. We know Kenny Holland knows that he'd like to add some scoring punch, right? So what does that look like? What sort of pieces might he be able to so I don't know if you want to talk about LA, because I do want to get to Winnipeg, but do you see LA being a significant buyer, or what does that look like for you?
There's such in a funny spot, right? Like they're in a way, their coach Jim Hiller is right when he says we play a lot of good hockey, but they don't play winning hockey.
Yeah.
Right? They play just well enough to have, I'm just looking here, 13 overtime and shootout losses. So they play just well enough to get there, and then they don't win.
Yeah.
So they don't score enough. They're not fast enough. I mean, you can identify the problem. How do you fix it?
Yeah.
Like who's got a forward available like that, a difference maker? Who's really taken a step back for them this year, and they couldn't afford it, is Quentin Byfield. He really felt like he was going to take that forward step, and without Kopitar as effective, and then he got hurt, they're really thin in the middle. So, like, how do you fix that? I mean, I've said this before. When we can identify the problem, pretty certainly the managers can. Like this is what they do, right? And so you look around and you're just hoping that a few more, if you're a team like LA, you're hoping a few more teams flip the switch and say, yeah, we are in a seller mode, because that would give them a couple of options to try to look around. Like, if, as you think of it, how many centers do you know are on or available? Not rumored to be and not, but how many do you know?
Yeah.
Is there just a couple? Like there's not 10.
No, there's not 10. No. And guys that
and
move
so,
the needle too, right? That make you
yeah,
better. You know,
right.
like Nazem Kadri to me is interesting. He has
But he's
some
okay.
trade potential.
They're one of
Yeah.
the oldest teams in the league in LA.
Yeah.
And so
And
when
you
I
get
hear
older.
that, I'm like, you get older. I'm
Yeah.
like, but maybe that's the time that they feel they have to
Yeah.
play with, like,
Yeah.
because Naz can play. He can still play, he can still contribute, and he can also contribute when the games get hard.
Yeah.
And I think that makes him really attractive to teams.
Yeah, and no guarantees here. I listed off the teams that I think have interest. Well, some of them obviously I know. LA would be among them. Return to Colorado isn't impossible. Dallas, there's concerns because of the contract. He has years left on his deal, and they've got Jason Robertson to wrestle with.
What
Coming
about
up as
what
a
about
free agent.
Minnesota?
Minnesota potentially, sure.
Because they're looking
Montreal,
for a center, right?
they and Mike Russo does a phenomenal job covering the
Yes.
Wild. As Vinny Trocheck, as a potential target as well. Um, some wonder about Panarin. Would he, you've got Kaprizov, Panarin. I don't know. It's a lot of money. I don't know how you make all that stuff
Yeah.
work. There is a
Right.
salary cap, by the way. But Billy is a gunslinger, right? We know that he'll be as active as he can be.
Well,
All right,
and
go ahead.
last thing to say
Yeah,
about Mini is you're already in,
yeah,
right? Like, so you're in here, and if you're going to go anywhere, your timing is very poor,
hmm
because the guys you've got to get by, the Dallas and the Colorado that you have to get
yeah.
by, like the timing of your good team, unfortunately, matches the timing of other in your division good teams. It's kind of like when Toronto had all those young guys and they were thought of like, this is the year, this is the year. Boston was fabulous, and Florida and Tampa were really good. It's
Yeah.
just like it turned out to be the wrong time.
Okay. Time. Is it time for Kevin Cheveldayoff to use the Chris Jury word, retool? I mean, they're 30th in the National Hockey League. And
Yeah.
what does a retool look like? Again, not to revisit how this stuff kind of gets under my skin, but I could appreciate the speculation around the Winnipeg Jets. They're an older and a slower team.
Yeah.
They just are. But what does that look like? Who's taking Gus Nyquist, to be fair? You've got other
Nope.
pieces. The Jonathan Taves story, a terrific story, the beginning of the year, returning to the NHL in his hometown of Winnipeg. Has it worked out?
Better lately,
Tremendous face-off guy.
but
Yeah,
yeah.
you know,
But
I
is that a piece that like, would he even move? And
right.
like, would he be into it or not? And B is like, what could he give you
Yeah,
in April and May? Like, that
right.
would be the determination. But here's the other part of this, Dregs, and this, man, you talk to enough managers, but the retool, rebuild, it's always great. And it sounds like the GM, you should just go ahead and do that. But there's one desk above yours that paperwork has to cross, and that's the owners. Are you
Yeah,
willing to do this?
yeah.
Because that means that there's a few years or a year, or I don't know. It's stupid to put a time frame on it because you can't.
Yeah,
But there's
but
gonna
I think
be
yeah.
some bumps in the road.
I think you're right, though, and I think no different than Vancouver. We know the direction the Vancouver Canucks are going in, and even though Rutherford used the rebuild word, that doesn't have to, in today's game, doesn't have to be a 5-year exercise. When you look at Vancouver, you've got some good young pieces. So maybe you get in that conversation. Maybe you finish last or close to last, and you get that pick, and then all of a sudden, poof. You sign a centerman or you trade for a centerman, you add a defenseman, and you're not that bad again, right? Or you're 2 years, 3 years, not 5, 7, 9 years away. Maybe
Well,
Winnipeg has to
I don't
embrace that.
know. I don't know if Winnipeg. I don't know Winnipeg's draft draft capital right now. But so as it sits right now, Vancouver, like if the draft was today, which I
Yeah.
always like to say, but it's not,
Yes. Yeah.
they'll have 4 picks in the top 50. And so like that's how you accelerate. And then you got to
Sure.
hit your picks, but that's how
Yeah.
you accelerate a timeline. And I don't know if Winnipeg has that type of draft stuff available, but
Yeah.
that's really how you, especially since there's right now we're in a phase, I think, Dregs, where there's just less
Yeah.
free agents. You guys are you're gonna suck on July 1st
Brutal.
in the studio. There's gonna be no one to talk about. We always say it, but this year there's gonna be.
I think they're shaving an hour off. I don't know what's going on. I did anyway. So that'll help the process. But to wrap up our talk on Winnipeg, it does seem likely that they're in the market for a first round draft pick, acquiring well, how are you doing that? You're not doing that with the veteran guys we've talked about. So that's why you see the speculation around Logan Stanley or, whispers around Perfetti or any of them. I'm not saying those guys are in play. I'm just saying that if you're actually shopping for another first round pick, all right, well, what's the bait? So that'll intensify in the days leading up as we get closer to February 4th. All right. Those are your headlines. Thank you to the Canadian Brewhouse. It is Thursday. Normally, we do Ask Grain Dregs anything on Thursdays, and that's what we're doing here today. Ryan Rashog is going to join us. And a reminder, you can send us your thoughts and questions. You can DM us on X or visit the Ray and Dregs website, rayandregs.com, and submit your questions. And Ryan, we can't get to 100, but I mean, just based on my retweets alone, there had to have been 500 really good questions submitted my way. So your work is cut out for you. Maybe
I'll
turn
be
your
honest
mic up.
with you. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I got it. I got to the mute button. No chirp there. I'm normally very happy with the submissions. I think our audience is loyal and awesome. I do have to say, it was a little bit of a downturn this last couple of days here. So if you're listening to the pod, if you want to get a question thrown at one of these two guys, hop in. There's a window. There was a slight window this last one. So, Ray, quick question, Ray. Dregs pointed out the award in my frame last show. Got a little chirpy about it. Is it just purely by accident that you framed in what looked to be 3 or 4 awards in your shot over your shoulder this week?
No, it is. Actually, I might have my chair in a different spot. They've been there forever. I mean, I don't even really know. Well, I mean, those would be those. What are those called, Drakes? What are those ones up there?
Canadian Screen, or is it the old Gemini?
Yeah, those ones. Oh, yeah, those are the Canadian Screen. Yeah, I didn't see those.
Did you win a Golden Globe this year or no? Is that what happens?
No.
Okay.
When you win awards at ESPN,
I will say this. I did find something in the basement flood when I was cleaning out that's kind of cool. Is this thing is you open it up, it's a ticket from the first game of the Atlanta Thrashers.
Oh, wow.
And so just think, and when they go back there, that thing will be worth.
You should collect the other 4, and then you'd have all 5 tickets from the people that were there.
No, it was sold out, but halfway through the second period, I think those people thought, "Oh boy,
what is this game we're watching?
And what are we watching?" And I'm glad. When we got our first shot halfway through the second period, they were like, "Whoa, isn't that great?"
That's awesome. Okay, we're just going to do a couple here, gentlemen, because we're a little tight on time this morning, and forgive my raspiness on the tail end of a little illness here. Okay, gentlemen, enjoyed your interview with Kelly McCrimmon earlier this week. I was wondering about his aggressive approach each season. How much of that is in his nature to be that way versus what ownership would like him to be doing? Do general managers set risk profiles season to season based on what their ownership's desires are, or is it strictly their call based on their experience and their personality? Love the show. I play along with the Tim's Challenge each week, and let me say it is fun yet humbling at times. That is Darren in Fernie asking that question. Dregs, you know the man pretty well. We'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I've known him forever, right? Dating back to his days as an assistant coach for the Brandon Wheat Kings, and prior to that, touring through the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Aggressive by nature, and anybody who watched Brad, his brother Brad McCrimmon, play in the National Hockey League, man, he earned the nickname Beast, as Ray can attest to.
Yes, he was no fun.
And yeah, and I spent time with the McCrimmon parents, and chip off the block. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, Kelly works incredibly hard. I want to say he has a master's in business, like a highly educated dude. You know, he works at everything and does complete research on absolutely everything. But he's also surrounded by high level people, guys that most people don't even talk about in the hockey community, like Bobby Lowe's, right? There's a relationship, and Bobby is like the VP of player personnel. But I ran into Bobby at the World Juniors in Minnesota, and he's there just looking at their prospects and other prospects, heavily involved in the day-to-day workings of the roster of the Vegas Golden Knights. And Kelly and Bobby Lowe's go back to the SJHL, right? So
can I throw you another name in there? Can I throw you another name?
Oh, I know where you're going.
Vaughn Carpin.
100%. Same.
So Vaughn has been there forever, like since they started. And so I think the edict comes from ownership. Hey, we're in this to win it when Vegas started. And then, you know, George McPhee and Kelly get together. And then you've got Bob Lowe's and Vaughn Carpin. Their staff does not change. They have hired the right people to execute a vision that the owner has given them.
Yeah. So aggressive every year, man. The number of splashes that come out of Vegas, it really is something. It really is something. Okay, guys, this one comes from my neck of the woods. This is from Preet here in Edmonton. What do you guys make of the Oilers not winning 3 games in a row yet this season? Seems like a weird stat, but is it an indication of a deeper problem, something that is happening with this team? That comes to us from Preet in Edmonton. We've talked about this a lot on our local shows here, guys. Have yet to put together 3 consecutive wins this season, Ray. What is that saying?
Well, the first 2 months, I don't know what I think a lot of that you can toss out because I don't know what they were doing. I don't know why they start like they do every year. Mm-hmm. It really seems like, oh no, this year they're primed for a better start and then they don't get one. But you'd think with the, you know, they would be able to do that. Is it schedule? Is it reliance on the top of their lineup? For a good part of the year, they weren't getting any depth scoring. Now it seems like they're getting a little more of it. Their goaltending was okay, not great. Like there's probably a lot of factors that come into it, but because obviously a winning streak is, 3 games more, but there is a consistency to that. And the Oilers have not, I don't think, displayed a consistency that would make them go on a run yet. Like they just haven't. And I think they're certainly capable of it, and I suspect they will. But it is an odd stat for sure.
It is, and it is worthy of attention, right? Because you do look around the league and you see Colorado has been on a couple of different, long winning streaks. Tampa Bay Lightning. We just talked about the Anaheim Ducks in headlines. Mm-hmm. There's a team that is inferior to the Oilers, but they've won 5 in a row. But the lower end teams in each conference tell me the same thing. It's that, that's what frustrates coaches so much is you win one and then you lose the next one, or you'll win 2 and then you'll lose the next one. And even though Edmonton's in a good place in the division and in the conference, you can't gain any ground, right? You can't, because everybody else is doing the same thing. So it's worthy of conversation. And I'm sure that Knobloch and the coaching staff are losing hair over it, trying to explore why it is.
Yeah, and the players are, it's become one of those things, like as a reporter that's in that room, it's become one of those things that we've asked about a few times. But the more it happens, I think it's 9 or 10 times now they've had 2 straight wins and not been able to get the third. Now, every time we ask it, they know it's coming, and it's becoming this like super annoying thing to them that we have no choice but to ask about. So with that, I got to bounce because I got to go down to the
at least
rink.
you're not asking David to shoot more.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you could, one thing I would enjoy.
Yeah.
But if you would ask when Leon's back, if you could ask him about it, because I think that would be the answer I would like to see.
Yeah.
I love when he's had it. Like whenever there's something and he's had it.
And then quickly follow it up with, why are you so pissy all the time?
Oh, come on now.
But I like when he looks like, he gives that look. It cracks me up. I'm not standing there, so it's not. But I'm amused by it all the time.
I know. I've gotten that look more than a few times. I gotta say, I enjoy interviewing Draisaitl because there's never any question about where his head is at and what he's thinking. And you got to be sharp. He's not afraid to fire a rocket right back at your head if you're not careful. It's kind of sporting. I like it. But that was Ask Ray and Dregs Anything.
Right,
and as I was saying, I got to go down to the rink this morning and ask the Oilers why they haven't been able to get 3 wins in a row. They play tonight.
I look forward to it. All right. There's a Ryan Rashad joining us on the Ray and Dregs podcast. And I guess we just automatically segue into our good pal, Chris Zuby, who comes in twice per week for the Tim's Hockey Challenge. And not a lot of celebrating. I don't know, Zub, maybe you've got something to boast here. But again, as I said off the top of the show, I'm careful. I don't like pounding my chest too heavy just because, I'm leading the pack, because every once in a while you get that slice of humble pie, and I got it Tuesday night.
We've us trailing behind you, Dregs, have had just ample opportunity here in the past couple weeks, and we have done a whole stinking pile of nothing with it. I was gonna say this is kind of a deep cut, but do you guys remember on SCTV there was a segment called Bill Needle's Mailbag, and it was Dave Thomas, and they kept cutting it shorter. In the story of the show, it was cut shorter and shorter every week. Well, it can be, Bill Needle's mailbag can be very short today. Here, let me run it down. 0 for 3, 0 for 3, 0 for 3, 0 for 3. A complete shutout here. And I'm on your program here, Ray. I just double checked mine, and I play with the Ray and Dregs account every night. And I'm on an 0 for 5. I'm on a 5-day cold streak, not a single goal scorer. And I got the Matthewses and the McDavids and the Rupe Hintses of the world just not coming through for me.
I think what the key is. You know what you got to do? You need to load up with a lot of Jordan Spence.
That's going to be all Spence all the time for the next little while.
But I mean, I got to start picking some guys that don't score much either, because the other way's not working. It's not happening.
I'm with you.
Anyway, so no movement in the standings. Dreg still has a lead by 7, and I've got I have worked the Ray and Dregs account down to a sad 26% when I was clipping along at 30 for a good while. But no good news on the Tim's Hockey Challenge today, guys. Other than that, today's another day we get to try it again.
And I'll give you one. I went in the 2-hole with Morgan Geekie. There you go.
I like that.
Well, I mean, he did score the other night, first goal in a month.
Yeah,
I know.
So now you know how those guys go, though, right? Like now they start to get it, right?
Yeah. So that's about it. All right, Zuby.
Yeah,
thanks,
good
buddy.
luck tonight, fellas. Yep.
All right, there's Chris Amunia on the Tim's Hockey.
That was uninspiring.
It was a little flat, but you know what? Again, there wasn't a whole lot.
But it's on us. We got to get. That's what I mean. We got to get going here. Come on.
Have you picked for tonight? What do you like? Is it?
Yeah, I have, and I picked. Forgot already. Yeah, I picked it early this morning, so I've already.
Kaprizov.
Oh yeah, pick Kaprizov.
Did you? I think McDavid was in that pot too, though. The first.
No, well, I didn't see. I took Kaprizov though, and then I looked at Geeky, and then I picked somebody else out of that bucket. And it's on my phone, so I can't check. But
no worries. Yeah.
I gotta say, I picked Logan Stankoven out of the third.
So did I. We've got a very similar roster here.
So that's really tough to make up ground now.
Yeah, you can't make up ground that way.
Yeah.
That's all right. Well, I'm hoping you go at least 2 for 3.
Thanks, Dregs. I appreciate your support here.
All right, buddy. So, yeah, busy weekend. Just kind
Yeah,
of.
got a couple of games. Got a
Yeah.
couple games Friday and Sunday afternoon. Penguins are here at 3:00 Sunday, which
Yes.
I love afternoon games, and it's really cool because lots of kids come.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's kind of fun to see them. The rink sounds different, and
Yeah.
there's a different energy. So look forward to that. And people are always excited when Crosby's in town. So
Yeah.
it's almost 15 years to the day that when he's here that he scored the golden goal.
Oh, no kidding.
It's
Yeah, I guess it would be.
yeah,
Yeah, that makes
yeah,
sense.
it's
2010.
pretty
sure.
crazy. Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
crazy. It could be that long, right?
Remind us, when's your golf trip, your excursion? Is that coming up there?
Yes, I am going Super Bowl Sunday. I'm flying to Phoenix and
Yeah.
gonna watch Super Bowl down there, and then I got 5
Oh,
days at 5 days of golf, and looking forward to it.
yeah.
Got
Well,
my
shout out.
new shoes
Yeah,
from
you knew where I was
FootJoy.
going with that.
Oh yeah, they came yesterday. I've been
Yeah.
at the range. I'm in training camp right now. I've been at the range the last 2 days. I'm going today. Today's more of a chipping and putting thing, but I'm gonna have my new shoes on today.
Yes, from our buddy Mitch Dawson. Beautiful
Thank you,
foot
Mitch.
joys.
Oh, they
Outstanding.
look great.
And in the
They look great.
spirit of the generosity of Mitch, I've got my Titleist hat on for the YouTube family.
You're not
Yes.
golfing right now though at home, are you?
No, I mean, it's been incredible. And I don't complain about it. Look, I mean, the weather happens everywhere. And obviously, Vancouver went through a stretch where it was terrible there with the rain
Yeah.
and all that nonsense. But man, we've had an incredible amount of snow and more. I'm looking out the window here in the office and it's snowing and it is blowing. So I don't have to go in studio. We're doing insider trading remotely today. So that helps
Okay.
because then I can keep the snowblower going and stay on top of it. It's when I
Yeah.
have to be in studio or traveling and I leave poor Holly behind that gets a little bit more complicated.
Oh.
So
Have a
There we
good
go.
weekend. Be safe, everybody. Thanks for listening. Be safe in your corner, and
yeah,
we'll see you on Tuesday.
you bet. Thank you to our sponsors, Ray, who continue to support and keep the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast alive. Our title sponsor, Tim Hortons, thank you, and thank you to the Canadian Brewhouse. Until next time, have a great weekend, everybody.